Welcome to another episode of the Hong Kong Sports Science YouTube channel. And today we're going to be talking about yoga and yoga for runners. You know, as a running coach and a runner myself, you know, yoga is a massive part of my recovery, and it's actually a part of my warm-up as well. You know, and some days I warm up with some yoga. Sometimes I do half an hour of a yoga session before I go out running. It really gets the blood going, you know, improves flexibility. And here with me, you know, Joe March is a yogi himself as well, and the physio is my physio, the physio in Hong Kong Sports Clinic. And, you know, yoga for you and runners, what do you think?
Yeah, so I use yoga a lot with my patients, and what I find with yoga is it's really good for correcting some of the imbalances that you get from exercising. So none of us are perfect, so no matter how much we work on our biomechanics, doing the strength, doing the stability, you're never going to be perfect, and we're never going to be running perfectly with the perfect technique. So we do get tight in certain places, so yoga is a really great way to counteract that. And the other great thing about yoga and why I use it so much is it targets so many different muscles at one time. So rather than just doing boring stretches, it's more effective, I'd find, with yoga, because the body works in a way that you use different muscles at different groups of muscles at one time, not just one muscle.
And also, you know, you develop your balance skill. You know, we talk about balance in almost every single video here, but you have to remember that running is a single-legged sport. You know, you run on one leg, so balance is very, very important. So today, me and Joe came up with 6 basic yoga poses that we think are probably the most important ones for runners.
Yeah.
They're very, very basic. I know that a lot of you watching this, you know, you might not like yoga too much. You went to a couple of classes, stand up at the back there, kind of, you know, not really enjoying it. So this is a couple of exercises that you can do, you know, a few times a week, and you can really kind of see the difference in your running and your recovery.
Yeah.
So I'll get down on the mat and I'll start explaining them, I guess. So the first one, I'm just going to lean back with my toes tucked in. So I'm really opening up my feet.
Yep.
So I'm making sure my back is straight. I'm just going to hold this for a few seconds. This is not a very long one because you feel a very deep stretch in the bottom of your foot.
I think this is a really great one because I always find people that have calf tendonitis in their Achilles or plantar fascia, they're always going to have it really tight, and it's always coming from
plantar fascia
too much.
will really go away with this. If you if you can do this, you know, there's chances that you're going to get plantar decreasing with like the more time you spend on this exercise.
Yeah, this is a great one for that.
So after that, I'm going to put my hands onto the ground. I'm going to untuck my toes, and I'm just going to sit back. So here I'm opening up my quads, but I'm going really deep into my ankles, my shins, and into my knees. From here, I can bring my hands into prayer, and then lift them above your head while leaning a little bit back.
This is good for balance, good for core stability, as well as the stretches, which is cool.
And if you've been struggling with any shin problems, with you know, this is a really kind of a good way to stretch the shins. Not many people stretch their shins, but then shin splints is one of the most common injuries for runners. So make sure when you do this, if you don't want to bring your hands above your head, you don't have to look like a yogi, but you can kind of like use your hands just to lift yourself a tiny bit up, so you can really feel it in your ankles and your shins. From here, I'm going to bring my hands onto the ground, and I'm going to open up my knees. And I'm going to sit back in between my knees. This is actually a Bikram yoga exercise. Super good in kind of stopping the blood flow to the knees and to the ankles. And then once we're released, we'll go into a downward facing dog after this. You get all that new fresh blood going through the joints.
Yeah, so maybe just show for the less flexible people.
Less flexible people, you might not be able to sit on the ground. Where you make sure that maybe you can get a pillow, a towel, and you can sit on that. This is actually a stretcher I like to hold for a little bit. So I'll sit here for at least, you know, a minute, you know, maybe 90 seconds to make sure that I really get the benefits of this stretch.
Where are you feeling that, Vlad?
I mean, that really goes into my knees and to my ankles. Okay. So I really feel like that kind of stopped the blood flow through there.
Cool.
And then one thing that you want to remember with this exercise is if your knees are lifting off the ground, you need to sit on something. Otherwise, you can do a bit more damage than good. Then from here, I'm going to bring my hands forward. I'm going to tuck my toes back in. And really feel it in my ankles. And I'm going to push my butt up to the sky.
So this is my all-time favorite stretch or pose, actually. So Vlad's thinking about pushing his chest back towards his thighs. He's trying to stick his tailbone in the air as to try and create a little bit of an arch in his lower back, and he's also pushing his his ankles, his heels into the ground. If you're tight, if you're finding you're more tight in the inside of your calf, you can turn the foot in a bit, put the other foot on the back, and you can push down, and that'll get more between on the inside of the calf. And then you can go the other way, and you can get the outside of the calf. It's just a little variation if you have finding that a certain part of your calf is more tight than the others.
And you got to make sure with a downward facing dog that you do hold it for a little bit. I mean, you would get a lot of blood into your head, which is a good thing. So, you know, come up, give yourself a few seconds to kind of feel alright after holding it for a little bit.
Yeah, I guess the other thing we need to mention with all these stretches is you can hold them for quite some time, whatever's comfortable. So you could start with a 10-second hold and work up to 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever's you're finding that you need. You can do that. So
if you're a new yogi and you haven't done too much yoga in the past, don't stay in those poses for too long. You know, just 10 seconds, twice a day, and then you'll see after a few weeks, you can hold it for 15, 20 seconds. If you're an experienced yogi and you just started running, this is the kind of poses you want to hold for a couple of minutes, like Joe was saying. From here, we also have a very, very nice stretch. We're going to go into our glute. So the best thing to do this is first bend your knees a tiny bit. So I'm going to bend my knees a little bit. And then I'm going to bring my foot onto my knee. And I'm going to try and imagine that I'm trying to grab something. So I'm really working like I'm reaching for something.
Vlad's also sticking his butt back. I'm not sure if you can see that in the video, but he's pushing his butt back and reaching his hands forward. And he's feeling the stretch here on his left glute.
And then from here I'm going to open up my arms. And I'm just going to bend a bit more forward.
So you probably get a bit more of a glute stretch with that one. And then also going all the way down, just relaxing your head. You can also bring the back into it as well, sorry, slump a bit more. Yeah. So you did a little bit of a back stretch and an upper glute stretch at the same time.
So this is a really, really good stretch. If you can't really balance with this stretch, you can definitely hold on to something. Or hold on to your friend or something. But yeah, getting this stretch, I mean, even if you feel like very uncomfortable with balancing, you can hold on to a rail in front of you and lean back.
Yeah. And
kind of open up your hands and hold on to something. And we have our last kind of yoga pose, which I don't even know what it's called. I've been doing yoga for about 3 or 4 years. I don't know what it's called.
Forward bend maybe, or some sort of forward bend, let's call it.
I've been calling it the Vlad Ixel forward bend. I don't know, you might stick with this video. So pretty much it's like reaching forward, so pretty much like a forward bend, but we're actually going to lift our toes up. So that creates...
does a few things. I reckon, from just watching you do this, I think it stretches the nerve. So the nerve from your lower back down into your feet. You can even pump it, but we'll have a look at it in a second. So
usually you would see this. I mean, you've seen this a million times, kind of, forward bend. Does your hamstrings a little bit. But if you're going to do the forward bend and lift your toes at the same time, it feels like a really, really deep stretch. And when Joe was going, it's really going into your nerves and into your calves. I was like, wow, it's really kind of hitting a lot of spots that I need, for running that I want to get moving. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to lift my toes as high as I can.
And you can also move the toes up and down, Vlad, so yeah, exactly. So then you do get the nerve going. So just the feet, yeah, not the body moving, just the feet. I find with runners, a lot of them have neural tension, so real tight nerves going from their back into their feet. So everyone should be trying to stretch the nerves.
And if you're struggling with lifting both feet at the same time, you can do it one at a time.
Yep.
So literally it will give you a bit more balance, and you can even help yourself a little bit with kind of bringing that toe a little bit higher. Hold that for a few seconds, few minutes, and you can do the other one as well.
Yeah.
As a runner, as a physio, we can't, talk enough about how important yoga is. Even if you only do a couple of minutes a day, you will get flexible, you will improve your balance, you will recover faster. So we have still a lot more videos about yoga. This was very, very basic. See if you can kind of nail those exercises in the next few weeks before we kind of progress to harder yoga exercises for runners.
So for those more experienced guys, we've made some sequences which that target certain parts of the body, so that'll be really interesting for the more yogis out there.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.